really gloomy today. It's like really gloomy today. There's a storm here in the Bay Area right now, and it's not been fun, honestly. I don't like clouds. Or the wind. Have you guys ever seen that episode of SpongeBob, that the one where like the wind keeps making music through his holes and it like attracts jellyfish, and then when he finally comes back out into society, like everyone's gone? That traumatized me. I was like, I hate the wind ever since then. I also hate that it gets my hair stuck in my lip gloss, so there's that. I decided this year that I'm spending Christmas alone, because I've spent every holiday feeling alone, and I thought that it would be better to just try and do something different instead of continuing the same pattern of hating the holidays. Why not create a tradition for myself where I do something that I actually want to do? And if I'm going to be alone or feel alone, I might as well spend that time doing something new and trying new things out. So this is my first Christmas actually alone, and I've not been hating it, actually. I've just kind of been hanging out, doing my own thing, and now that school is kind of on a break, I kind of wanted to focus on this huge thing that I've unpacked. I am someone who is always searching for answers, always, in terms of growth, my mental health, because I had a lot of issues, started with anxiety at a very young age, maybe starting at 12, like panic attacks. Then like eating issues came closely after that, and then depression, and it was a very long cycle over 10 years, plus severe relationship issues. Like I was unable to make friends and keep friends. It was a really big problem in my life, and all of that, at the core of that, was an abandonment wound. And I was searching my whole life for the answer, and that's what it was. And how is it that I saw so many therapists throughout all these years? How is it that I searched and searched for answers, and it is not until this year that I had the answer, that it was an abandonment wound? And unpacking it, I'm so confused how obvious it was, and everyone who was supposed to help me, no one could see it, and no one knew how to help me. I'm just so confused. And that's kind of been a little bit of a weird journey as well, just realizing that we really have been in the stone ages of mental health up until maybe 2020. And then since then, there's been a lot of progress made, for sure, but we're still figuring out so much. And this one thing that has taken over my life for so long, like I'm finally at the tail end of it. I've spent all of 2025 unpacking it, and I'm finally like feeling like myself again. Rather, my favorite version of myself, but without all the baggage, I guess. So yeah, I have a bunny here. I don't name inanimate objects, so it doesn't have a name. But when I was younger, I went to Camp Sherman. It was a Girl Scout camp. And I had this huge bunny that like sat at the foot of my bed. It was maybe this long. And it was like a white Easter bunny. And I came back, and my mom had completely like upgraded our room. It went from like little girl room to teenage room. You know what I mean? And the first thing was excitement. I was like, oh my gosh, I got a cool new room. But the second thing I noticed was, where is my bunny? Aw. And she had thrown it away. I remember asking her and kind of throwing a fit. I was like, you threw away my bunny? Like, what? And her reaction was, you're ungrateful. I did all of this for you, and you're worried about a bunny, like a stuffed animal. And she left me there and my feelings all by myself. She just walked away. She was like, how dare you? And she left me there, sad and confused. And the reason I bring that up is because that's actually been a lot of my life with my parents. And it might sound like minuscule. For a lot of my life, I did think that story was like, whatever, Denise, get over it. But it was so symbolic in the sense that that was so much of my life. That is how I was treated. That if I felt any kind of sadness or anger or confusion, I was left alone to make sense of it, all alone. That's such a big part of this story right now regarding this abandonment wound, because I didn't know I had one. Because I had both of my parents, never divorced. They provided for me. They gave me everything that I needed, and they worked hard as immigrant parents to make sure that I had an equal opportunity here. And they made sure to tell me that. You know what I mean? They made sure that I knew that. But I was such a sensitive child, always. And they could not provide me the emotional care that I needed. And I didn't realize that that caused me so much issues. Emotional abandonment is still abandonment. And even when your parents don't understand or don't know how, and you know that they don't know how to provide that for you, you can rationalize it all you want. Like, well, they're immigrants. They don't have the time. They have to work 10 times harder than everyone else. And I should be grateful for everything that I have. And I am. But oh my gosh, that caused me so many problems. So many issues in my life were a result of this one thing. So when I found out I had this abandonment issue, this abandonment wound, I really started to really allow myself to feel all the anger that I never allowed myself to feel. When I first started this allowing myself to feel, I got sick from anger. Like I had to take a break because I really wanted to film these videos, and then I couldn't because I was so sick in my stomach and in my head, honestly. Having to purge all of that anger that's been sitting inside of me for so long. I had an anxiety disorder, so I know exactly what it feels like to wake up with anxiety, right? Like you wake up and you already feel like you've been chased by 10 tigers. Like, what is going on? But this was different. I was waking up for like 2 weeks straight with like knots in my stomach. Like I couldn't eat. I was so sick with anger. I felt like my body was just sore and hot all of the time, and everything was setting me off. Like every inconvenience, I was like blowing up. So that was fun. However, after I processed that, there was a new sense of calm that I have not felt. Maybe in a long time, or maybe ever. There was a sense of like freedom. This abandonment wound manifests different for everyone, I'm sure. But for me, it makes complete sense that I'm this person who is consistently searching for answers and healing and growth, why I study the mind and why I study behavior and why I study consciousness. How silly. It was this thing where I was consistently chasing these credentials of, when I learn this, when I get this degree, then I will be good enough that people will listen to me when I tell them that this is how you heal and you become a better person. Because that's what I was trying to do for my parents. I was like, why aren't you listening to me? Like, you are causing me so much pain. I would tell my parents, go to therapy, take care of your health, take care of your mind, like, you need to relax. And when I would try to talk to them about my feelings, it's like it was the same thing. An argument would immediately come up. I was attacking them. I wasn't grateful. And I don't know what I'm talking about. I wouldn't understand. And so it was this like chase, healing myself, and then trying to heal others, and trying to like project this message of like, you need to grow, you're hurting people. But who I was actually talking to was my parents. But that was like seeping into every area of my life because my parents weren't listening. Okay, so now it's everyone's problem. Now it's everyone's problem. Everyone needs to grow. You don't understand what you're doing. You are hurting people by staying stuck. But it was just a message to my parents that you are hurting me by choosing not to grow. And so this constant chase of healing and self-perfection has in a sense also caused me a lot of issues. I'm finally getting to a place where I'm realizing that, no, Denise, you're not crazy. You actually do know what you're talking about. And just because you have this abandonment wound, and just because sometimes you deal with your own mental health problems, that doesn't mean that you're stupid or incompetent, or that all of these years in school and practice meant nothing. Your skills are valuable. And just because my parents don't see that, or they don't want to accept my help, that doesn't mean it's not true. That has been such a relief for me to let go of, because it was like causing me anger for a long time. People will choose to grow or not to grow, right? And that's also tied to this abandonment wound, right? Like, I was viewing other people not growing as them abandoning me. Does that make sense? Like, when someone would choose not to learn a lesson, or not to help themselves, or to stay stuck in their victimhood, or to project rather than reflect, it felt like abandonment all over again. From my parents, from my sisters, from everyone who was supposed to be my home. And so it was like I was just angry at everyone. I was like, you're not doing enough. Like, you are not doing enough for yourself. I can't have a relationship with you. Like, you are gonna hurt me. And so I built these huge walls. If anyone did anything, showed me anything that was like, ooh, like, you're not working on yourself, you're not growing, you're not reflecting, get out of my life. Get out of here. Strong walls. Blocked. But that has kept me so alone, for sure. So in healing that, I have started to realize that, one, I was projecting my own need to self-perfect onto other people. But also it was driven by being abandoned from my parents and my sisters, and blaming myself for it. I blamed myself for being abandoned because I wasn't perfect enough. Because if I had just been good enough, maybe they would have loved me. Maybe if I had controlled my emotions more. Maybe if I stopped feeling so much, then I would be normal. But that's not normal. I'm starting to realize it also came with feeling like too much. I am too much. I'm simultaneously too little, where my education, not even the education that I have, not the years of experience that I have mean anything really. What do I know? But then also too much. Like, you feel too much, Denise. Your depth is too much. Like, you talk about things that are just too emotional. You're too vulnerable. You want to get too deep all the time. Like, you're too much. You want to talk about all these social issues all of the time. Like, too much. Like, you make people uncomfortable. And so I've been dimming myself and dimming myself and dimming myself for years. And unpacking this abandonment wound slowly but surely throughout this year has empowered me so much, where I'm like, no, actually, there was never anything wrong with me. Isn't that what people with such low emotional depth do, right? When they haven't met themselves at a certain level emotionally, everyone else's emotions is too much. You're just like, oh, that's just too much. But when you meet someone, like if you've ever talked to a therapist, or if you've talked to an extremely emotionally intelligent friend, or your grandma, I don't know, someone, and they meet you at that depth, they don't look at you like you're crazy, and then you leave that conversation like, oh my gosh, I feel so calm in my nervous system right now. Why am I not like having that like vulnerability hangover? Why do I feel actually okay? What if that's the way it's supposed to be? What if you were always meant to find people who can meet you at your depth? And other people not being able to meet you at your depth is not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of them, even if they want to project it onto you. And it's been so empowering realizing all of that. I was like, oh my gosh, there was never anything wrong with me. I was just surrounded by people who couldn't give me what I needed. And that doesn't mean that they're bad people. That doesn't mean that they didn't love me. It was just their capacity. And now that I'm moving away from all of that, I'm realizing that I was always meant to just find my community. And I couldn't do that when I kept trying to like help people heal. Like I would find friends and then I'd be like trying to pull them up in their healing, right? Like giving them all of this advice and like trying to help them and being there for them emotionally. And a lot of the time they couldn't do that for me. And so I was really settling for these relationships that were not really serving me. And I would leave feeling empty-handed and my cup was drained. I would probably need to talk about it more, of what I'm actually doing to heal it, right? But I'm just kind of talking about it generally because it has been not only a mental realization of a lot of things, but it is a nervous system integration, because abandonment is tied with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And that is a real response in your body. So if you've ever like had these social situations where you feel like you're being excluded a little bit, or your friends pulling back, and you genuinely have a real reaction in your body, like something bad is happening, like you are now in fight or flight, your heart is racing, you're scared, it is a real reaction. So that would happen. And I would dim myself and settle for these relationships that actually just weren't giving back to me. And since integrating so much this past year, I have been able to let those relationships go and make space for ones that give back to me in the ways that I want to be given back to, in the ways that I give equal partnerships. And that in itself has been so healing. And now I trust myself. Now I've given myself an internal compass of what it feels like when relationships are actually equal. And it feels really good. It feels really nice. I hope that I'm making sense. And I hope that one day I can really talk about what I did truly and what it took to address this whole abandonment thing. But the main point is, I didn't know. I had no idea that I had an abandonment wound. that I was still holding on, that I could perfect myself into being loved. I don't want anyone to ever feel the way that I did. You know, I meet so many people and I see how they just reject their emotions and the way that they talk about themselves and to themselves, and I'm like, you don't need to do that with me. Everything you feel, that's okay. Whatever you're feeling, it's so valid and it's fine. I don't think you're too much. I don't think you're crazy. I probably have been there too, and I get it. I want people to start understanding that just because other people don't know how to hold your emotions doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. And if they're telling you that you're crazy and you're too much and blah, 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 it's just a reflection of their limitations. And that sucks for them. Sometimes it's easier to blame ourselves than it is to acknowledge there was a mishandling of our vulnerability. But you don't need to blame yourself for feeling what you feel, and you don't need to blame yourself for being abandoned. You don't need to blame yourself or feel shame or any of that. I've always felt like too much. Always, always, always. Like, why do I have all of these feelings? Why do I not understand what's wrong with me? Why? And I've just been searching and searching for answers, when all I needed was maybe for someone to just be present with me and be my friend and walk through it with me. And so now that I have the skills, at least a competent amount of skills, to help myself through these types of situations now, because I've gone through it, if me talking about it helps someone, then that's all I could want. And I think that's all I want to say about it right now. Maybe I'll have more to say later, but yeah. I hope I made sense. Anyway, I think I've been watching a lot of cozy shows lately, like lovey-dovey shows. So I think I'm gonna do that. I've been watching My Happy Marriage on Netflix, which is so funny too, because it's like there's this girl who's completely traumatized from her family, and she is in this like very healing relationship now, and it's just so cozy to watch, to like have unpacked all of that within this year, and then to end the year on Christmas watching this show. I don't know, it's just like, isn't it so funny how the universe works sometimes? It's so funny. So funny. The answers are always there. It's just a matter if we're willing to see them. They're always there. So anyway, I think I'm gonna go do that. Okay. Guess that's it.